Hello, you're welcome. You're welcome onto my channel today, and it gives me great joy to observe you are viewing this video. Hi, I'm Dr. Olayinka Kole. I'm a sociologist, I'm a researcher, I'm a public speaker. On this channel, I do a number of stuff, but all these stuff I do, you can easily cluster them into four: sociology, research, migration, and relationship. And I do this as regularly as possible to add value to my viewers and subscribers. Meanwhile, if you are yet to subscribe to this channel, kindly go ahead and subscribe. And if you have subscribed previously, thank you very much. If you haven't subscribed, please click the subscribe button on your screen. Tap the subscribe button on your screen to subscribe. Today, I want to address a very important topic within the context of sociology: social safeguards in intervention or development projects. Social safeguards is a term that broadly refers to the tools, strategies, processes, approaches, policies that tries to mitigate or minimize or eliminate negative impacts of development projects on communities or people where the projects are being implemented. Social safeguards simply means there are policies that are in place, processes, plans, patterns, and tools that are in place during implementation of development projects, or we also call development projects intervention projects. For example, you may want to construct roads, you may want to construct bridges, you may want to construct river channels to control floods, you may want to introduce agricultural projects or technological innovations in communities. But as much as these projects are important to increasing the quality of life of people or the beneficiaries, we also believe that no project is worth the disruption of people's lives or their relationship or their livelihood. Therefore, as much as innovations, interventions are being introduced into communities for the benefit of people, their lives, their social life must also be safeguarded, to put it like that. So it must be project for people, not people for project. That is, the project must not take away the life of the people, especially their social life. So this is what social safeguards mean. That means social safeguards also assist to optimize, to increase, to protect the benefits of development project for the people, while also minimizing, eliminating, or mitigating the negative impact of the project on the benefiting society. So international financing institutions always require that you have safeguards experts, safeguards specialists, or safeguard policies, strategies, tools in places to be sure that the projects they want to finance in your country or your societies do not necessarily negatively impact or destroy the social life, architecture of those people in those society. So this is very important. For example, social safeguard is very strong in the World Bank, very strong in Food and Agricultural Organization, very strong in IMF, very strong in AFDP, African Development Bank, AFDB, or Asian Development Bank at the same time. So these organizations, or all the people who want to intervene through special projects into communities, expect that you submit your safeguard policies or practices or processes or tools at the proposal stage. And if you do not have strong safeguard mechanisms in place, the project will most likely not be funded. And the social safeguard must be throughout the project cycle. That means from initiation to design to implementation, to even to conclusion, to closure. There must be safeguard processes in place. It's a continuous process, and it's a key component of your MIE, monitoring and evaluation. So these safeguards, in fact, in many of these IFIs, international financial institutions, safeguards or social safeguards, is among the most important components of the project. Even in engineering projects, social safeguards are tools are very important, or policies are very important, because it is project for the people, not people for the project. So, and it's very important to know that you can be an expert in social safeguards, especially if you're a sociologist, a social scientist. It's a strong area of professional calling, in development project. Minimizing negative impact of project on communities, and also minimizing the risks or the shock. At the same time, optimizing the benefit of the project. And this is very important, because if you do not have strong social safeguards in place, the project will not be sustainable. People will not own the project. People will not buy into the project. And this will ultimately affect the impact and the benefit and sustainability of the project. There are many development projects that communities have rejected in the past because it has too much negative impact on them. Or some of those projects do not factor in strong social safeguards into it. Meanwhile, social safeguards talks about protecting the social environment, the social life of the people, the social organization of the society where the project is being implemented. And this is very important for us going forward. So now, what are the elements of a social safeguard, or key issues when talking about social safeguards? What are the key issues in social safeguard? What are the elements that must be in place if you are having social safeguard? Excuse me. So, one, there must be strong stakeholders engagement. Stakeholders engagement is a situation, is a process through which you bring key actors in the community, from the component of the communities, together to find out what their interests are, what their concerns are, what their suggestions are. Don't forget, you bring in the project to them. So these stakeholders, that means you have to carefully select key actors in the community. The key groups in the community must be brought together. And we must be very careful of hijacking the process by few individuals. For example, you must include religious leaders, traditional leaders, youth group leaders, women leaders, market women, across different, depending on that society in question. So these stakeholders are people who have stake in the project. So you get them to be included. Inclusion is very important. We call it social inclusion in social safeguard. So you can harvest different opinions, different attitudes and interests, so that the project does not run into crisis. And through this, you are able to get the second issue, social license. Social license in social safeguards means the approval given to the project to run effectively in their community. Approval given by the society, by the community, for the project to take place in the community. It's not compulsory that the project must be accepted by the community. If they reject the project, they refuse the contractors to work, then the contractor has not been given social license. Sometimes social license may not be a document. It may just be like a norm, like a social approval, like the support given to the project by the community. That's when the community will not revolt against the project. They will not protest. So once there is protest, then the social license is withdrawn. And that's why social safeguard is very important throughout the project cycle. And that's why stakeholder engagement must be continuous throughout the project. There must be continuous stakeholders engagement to be sure that the social license is protected. Once there's a complaint, once there's a grievance, there must be strong stakeholders engagement to quickly address these complaints, these grievances. Grievances must be minimized so that the social license is not withdrawn. Another one is the issue of GBV, gender-based violence. The project must pay attention to the extent that the project does not lead to gender-based violence. Opinions and interests of different genders in the community must be factored into the project. And on the project and in the community, throughout the life cycle of the project, gender-based violence must be protected. So the safeguards policy, social safeguards policy, must have gender-based violence training for the project officials to be sure that they do not have gender-based violence on the project and around the community. Another issue is a grievance redress mechanism. There must be strategies in place to manage grievances. Once development projects are ongoing, there may be grievances where on the project and across the project, that is, through the relationship between the project and the community. So there must be strong grievance redress mechanisms. Grievances might be normal, but how do you redress them before they become crisis is very important. So there must be GRM, we call it grievance redress mechanisms, which must be in place. And sometimes we have what we call the grievance redress committees, which can be members of the stakeholders engagement, isolate important people in the community, people who are stakeholders, key elements or actors among them are selected to be in the grievance redress committee, all the time, so that before a grievance goes out of control, the grievance redress committee will serve as the go-between between the project officials and the client. The client may be the implementing organization. It may be the project coordinating unit, or project implementation unit, or whatever you want to call them. So the group implementing the project and the community, so the grievance redress committee then gets in between to manage all crises. So, and these are very important. There must be mitigation plans in place. Since there may be negative consequences of the project, then there must be mitigation plans, established to manage all the negative implications of this. And we also have what we call the labor influx that must also be included in the social safeguards policy, or tools, or strategies, or plans, because the project definitely may bring aliens into the community, in large numbers. So how do you manage this influx of project workers into the community to the extent that it does not disrupt the social architecture of the community? Because when you bring so many strangers, aliens, outsiders, or foreigners into the society, definitely you are introducing foreign elements into the community. So how do you intend to manage this labor influx to the extent that they don't create problems in the community? And this is very important. Then there must be protection of cultural and historical sites, religious sites, cultural sites. You can't just say because you want to do an agricultural project or intervention or infrastructural project, you want to construct roads, build bridges, build channels for rivers, or you want to introduce new crops, or anything you are bringing as an intervention project or development project, and you just begin to destroy the historical sites of the people, their cultural heritage, that is not acceptable. So there must be a plan in place as an element of social safeguards to be able to maintain, protect, or agree with the community if you want to relocate these sites so that the project are away from the project corridor, and so this must be clearly taken into cognizance, and it's very good that we must pay attention to this. Otherwise, there might be problem. There might be refusal of social license, and social license can be withdrawn anytime. And also you have to pay attention to the burial sites. Are there burial sites across? People are intrinsically attached to their dead relatives. So you can't, if your project will affect the burial location of people of the older generation long gone, there must be relocation plans to accommodate this. Then there must also, the social safeguards element must also include the workers' camp. If you want to keep workers in community, there must be appropriate camps for them where they live, and that place must be very habitable, well managed, and suitable for human habitation. Workers' camp can also be very important so that the laborers that have been brought on the project, or workers, don't unnecessarily mingle with the community in a dangerous way. And then you must also take account of alcohol, consumption of alcohol on site, drinks, because this can make people to misbehave and cause a lot of problems for the project. So alcohol must be very restricted, smoking must be very restricted, consumption of drugs on the project must be properly regulated, or we recommend abolition. There must be no consumption of drugs, narcotics, on alcohol, or smokes. There must be designated smoking site, but alcohol or hard drugs must be prohibited on the project, particularly on sites. And this is a strong component because people can get drunk, people can be high on drugs, and they constitute nuisance to the community and to themselves or fellow workers. So R is very important. Security issues must be part of the social safeguards plan and policies. Security issues. How do you want to ensure security on the project and in the community? Must you use armed personnel or weapon carriers? Must you use local vigilantes? Must you use local elements or local people to secure the site and the project? So the security issue must be, depending on the security environment of the project or security domain, which will inform your security strategy. But security plan is a strong component of social safeguard and community relations. There must be strong community relations, between the project and the officials from the project implementation unit or whatever concept is used to describe the implementation unit, and the project itself, project workers and community. That's a triangle. You look at the project itself and the project workers. You look at the project implementation units that have been established to manage the project and the community. There must be strong relationships along this triangle. And so ownership is also very important because you want the project to be owned by the community. They must see the project as our own, as their own. And this is what we call project ownership. Even though the project is being funded by IFIs, International Financing Institutions, and is being implemented by the project implementation unit or the project think tank or project steering committee, depending on what is applicable in this particular project, there must be ownership eventually. The benefiting communities, people must see the project as their own. Otherwise, they will not protect the project. They will not even use the project. There are cases of projects that have been implemented and the communities don't use them. And they don't even protect them. So it amounts to waste of resources and time. And this is very important. And because the ownership will depend on the buy-in. To what extent are the people buying into the project? That is, to what extent are they accepting the project? We call it project buy-in. B-U-Y, then I-N, buy-in. That is, are they accepting the project? Are they really receiving the project? Are they seriously interested in the project? That's when they will not see it as their own and the ownership. And that's when there will be sustainability. That's when the project will be sustainable in the future. That's when the project will continue, even when the funding stops. Very important element of social safeguard, RAP, Resettlement Action Plan. Your social safeguards policies and strategies must accommodate RAP, Resettlement Action Plan. How are you going to resettle those people that may be affected by the project? Sometimes, if it's a project that want to pass across a community, for example, if it's road construction, if it's acquisition of land for agricultural intervention, those people that own the land in the first instance, those people whose houses might be demolished, how do you want to resettle them? And how will you compensate them? You must enumerate, get data of all the affected people, we call them PAPs, project affected persons, PAPs. So these project affected persons, how do you want to relocate them? And this RAP must be acceptable. The conditions of RAP must be acceptable to the PAPs, the project affected persons. If they don't accept it, you cannot resettle them by force. In fact, the IFIs will not accept that. You have to compensate. You have to also be sure that their livelihoods are protected. So RAP is a major element of social safeguards. Because, for example, if you are constructing a road and the road soldiers and even the drainages will affect some houses that you have to demolish, you must sufficiently compensate the people. You must manage their psychosocial trauma. You must put them where they want, and you must pay acceptable compensation. And it must be mutually agreed. This is what we call Resettlement Action Plan. It is a core component of social safeguards, RAP. If you're going to RAP a set of people because the project is going to consume their houses or shops, there must be strong RAP to be done so that the people are happy and they are ready to move. Then after that, you also have what we call income and livelihood restoration. It's possible during RAP that their livelihood, their income generating activities have been affected. Even after RAP, even when the project is over, you still have to come back to be sure that the people are living fine. Their livelihood has been restored. So there is RAP, then there is income or livelihood restoration. After you move them away, you resettle them, the PAPs must be followed up to be sure that the livelihood that's affected, if it's short, many of them are landlords who collect rent on those houses. When they are resettled, you still have to follow up with them to restore their livelihood. If necessary, give them more money, give them more support, psychosocial support, financial support, social support, and some other support, mental support, to be sure that their livelihood is fully restored. And this is very important. You also have to consider, as part of your social safeguards, the issue of family organization. Families must not be disorganized on account of this. And the families must continue to live well, like they were before the intervention. Don't forget, people should be better off during and after the project. That is the whole essence of social safeguards. People must be better off during and after the project, not worse off, not worse than the way they were living their life before the intervention, but they should be better off and be saying, we are happy with this project. That is when the project will be positively impactful and sustainable. Projects must make people better, not people worse. That's the basic element of social safeguards. Thank you very much. Kindly subscribe to this channel and share this video widely. Until I see you in my next video, bye for now.